Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's tutorial we'll be taking a look at how to add that extra pop in your YouTube thumbnail by adding your own bold, white, or colored outline to your thumbnail like these ones right over here. Alright, so to start we first have to get the images that we want to use for this. For example, I already have my images right over here. I already cut them out into the way that I want them to be. But the only thing I have to do now is add that white outline or colored outline to each of these players. So let's begin. What we're going to do is we're going to hop into Photoshop. We're going to open that file that I just got. So it's right over here. And I open it and I'm in Photoshop. All right, so now that we're in Photoshop, we can see this layer panel right over here in the bottom right corner. You can see that this is on a background layer. So what I want it to be is on an actual layer so we can duplicate it and not edit the background image. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click. It says new layer here. I'm just going to accept and I'm going to drag and drop this into the layer icon, which is this one right over here. And I can see I have a new layer right there. All right, so now that we have a new layer, we're going to figure out how do we actually cut these guys out to make an outline around them. So what we're going to be using is actually this tool right over here. It is called the pen tool, and it allows us to make or change paths and shapes with anchor points and handles. So I'm just going to quickly teach you guys how to use this tool. So it's very similar to almost like connecting the dots like you played as a kid, but instead of connecting the dots, you're actually the one making those dots. So for example, we can create an outline like this, okay, where I'm just pressing the points and you can make a nice little box like that. So I'm just going to go back. But there's also another technique that you can use as well, and this is better for curves. So when you click to start and you click another point, but you press and hold and you drag, you can see that you can start having an arching line. But this can get a little bit tricky because if you don't, if you have a straight line going like this, what's going to happen? So if you want it to go from that point straight to here, it's going to arch again just because of this anchor point that it has here. But to avoid that from happening, what we're going to do is we're going to actually alt and click that point, and then you're going to see it goes back to being a straight line once we click it. So now that we know how to do that, I'm just going to quickly start off cutting just this Houston player out of the background. So let's take a look. And once we come to this edge of the screen like I did over here, it doesn't really matter where we go. We just have to just go back and connect. All right, so we're down to the end right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this point right over here to that, and we have completed our path. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have to do it for each of these players. So here's how to not disrupt your work path. So what you're going to do is after you finish that one, you're going to go down to this layer panel that you have over here, and you have layers, channels, and paths. We're going to click on paths, and you have your work path that you're working on right now. If I were to create a new work path, I would actually lose all the work that I put in now. So in order to save that, what we're going to do is we're going to drag and drop this onto a new layer, and then you can see it's path 1, and that is the path of the player. But now once I create a new work path, you can see that it's going to get added onto that path. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create 3 new paths, and on the second path we're going to cut out the Golden State Warrior player. So let's do that. Now I selected path 3, and we're going to cut out the Celtics player as well. All right, and then that's it. We have all 3 paths on 3 different layers, and now we're going to get into how to actually add that cool effect. So to start off, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new layer. First for the Houston player, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to our paths, and we're going to press Control until you see a little dotted box around our cursor, and we're going to select that path. Now, what we're going to do with this path is we're going to go over to Select, modify, border. We're just going to make it a little bit thicker. Instead of 3 pixels, let's do 10 pixels. Okay. We go back to our layer, create a new layer, and then add some paint onto that layer. And Control D, and you can see there's a thicker border. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And it adds a cool little effect like that. And once again, we have right over here just that white line that we want to get rid of. Okay, so what we do is we go here, select that, just delete it from there, Control D, and that is our outline. If we want to change the color, what we do is we double click it, go to Color Overlay, and I'm just going to change this blend mode to normal, and I'm going to change it to more of like a yellow color, like that. And there we go. And we're just going to do the same thing for all 3 of these guys. So I'm going to go and select it, just like I press Control and click, okay, on the path. And I'm going to go to create a new layer, and then I go to select, modify, border, 10 pixels, seems pretty good. Doesn't matter which color you use because we could always change it. We could just double click a few times, Control D, and boom, we have an border around him. So I'm going to change this border color to actually yellow, just like that. Okay. And I'm going to add the Gaussian blur effect. So I go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Seems 8 pixels around right. And now I'm looking at this and it kind of looks a little weird. I think that a red border would be a little bit better on the Houston player. So I'm just going to go back to my first layer. And as you can see, you have the effects and the color overlay. We're just going to double click on the color overlay, and we're just going to change that to red and press OK. And look at that. Now we just do the same thing for the other guy. And there we go. We have just now cut out our players and added a cool little border around them. All right, thank you guys for watching. If there's any questions that you guys have, feel free to message me in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to continue making videos. Have yourself a wonderful day.